We are live. We're ready to go. It's almost like the ding. Do you remember that ding?
Oh, yeah.
Ding. Oh, sheer. Those,
When you hear
that's an old story.
When you hear the sound, please start speaking.
Yes. Hey, sheer is right. We're about to start. Okay, gentlemen and ladies who've joined us live, good evening. Thank you for all joining us tonight. We are going to... Oh, Iris is here. Michael, say hi to Iris.
Hi, Iris.
Yeah, there's the hand. The hand that waves.
You recognise the hand.
Joe, it's interesting you say you can recognise my hand. I'll tell you something funny. My wife's very, very good friends... Hi, sorry. My wife's very, very good friends went down to a wedding in 2000 in Israel that my father was Masada Kiddushin for. And they took pictures and they went through... Oh, Stefan's here. Hi, Stefan. They went through the pictures years later, and my wife's looking at the picture and goes, it's the first sighting of my husband. There was like my arm with my watch was on there, and she could tell just by the hair and then by the watch that I was wearing. So she goes, that's my husband. I can tell. That's my husband's arm. So that was the first sighting of me in my family.
So we have to be careful.
That was one story. The other funny story, which is even better, is my in-laws went and bought a liqueur somewhere, and the liqueur was from Vienna and it had a hechsher on it. And my wife kept on saying to my in-laws, you cannot drink this, you don't know who the rabbi is, he might be a rogue, who knows who this rabbi is. You can't just drink everybody's just because it has a rabbi's name on it. Doesn't. Anyway, we got married and they pulled out the drink again. Lo and behold, my father gave the hechsher on the bottle. Well, I guess it had to, it was one of those things where they had a good laugh about it. Okay, let's get going. Tonight, Yisro, there's a lot of different things to see. I'm going to start with this because I found it extremely interesting, maybe especially as a rabbi. I know people might not see it like this. But Yisro comes to visit Moshe Rabbeinu. He's coming now to bring Moshe Rabbeinu's wife and Moshe Rabbeinu's children back to Moshe Rabbeinu. And he sends Moshe Rabbeinu a message. Vayomer Moshe. He says to Moshe, this is verse number 6, and you're on page 394 if you have an Art Scroll Chumash, so you're on the right page, Malcolm. Perfect. Vayomer Moshe, and he said to Moshe, Ani chosencha Yisro ba'elecha, I, your father Yisro, is coming to you, v'ishlecha and your wife, v'shnei b'nei, and your wife and the two kids are with her. That's what the Torah tells us. Right? The question, so then, Rashi, before we get to the question, Rashi makes the following point. Rashi says... He has this hierarchy. I am here, and your wife's here, and your kids aren't here. Why do I have to tell him I am here, and your wife's here, and your kids aren't here? So Rashi says, Im einata yotze begin. If you're not willing to come up because of me, say begin ishtacha. So then at least come out and greet me because your wife's here. V'im einata yotze begin ishtacha. And even if you're not willing to go out for your wife's covered, at least say begin shnei baneh. Come out for your two children, her two children. That's what he says. So Yisro is coming now and asking, he's saying, please, can you come and welcome me to the camp? And the Gur Aryeh, Maharal is well known for his svarim on Jewish ideology. Maharal was Rabbi Yehuda Loewy from Prague. He was known as Maharal of Prague, very, very famous. One of the most famous things he's known for, nobody really knows if it happened or not, if there was a golem or not. Have you heard of the golem of Prague? Yeah, so the Maharal seems to be the one that made the golem of Prague, if the golem of Prague ever existed. So Maharal is famous for his writings in Jewish ideology, really very famous about what he writes about. It's a very, very interesting subject. And he also has one sefer called the Gur Aryeh, and the Gur Aryeh is a book that explains Rashi. It's a Pirush on Pirush Rashi. A further exposition on Rashi's exposition. Explaining why Rashi says what he does and giving deeper thought to Rashi. And so Gur Aryeh asked the following question. What's Yisro getting at? We're assuming that Yisro wasn't some kind of covet monger. There's some people that are very into their covet. I think we've met people like that. somebody recently showed me was hilarious. I mean, it's not even funny. You shouldn't really laugh about it. But did anybody see that video of Donald Trump at NATO? Did you see it? Do you know what I'm talking about? Did you see it? There was a whole bunch of people talking, and Donald Trump wanted to move his way to the front. So he literally put his arm on somebody else, shoved him aside, and moved his way to the front. Did you see it?
Yeah.
Did you see that? No, I'll have to send it out. I'll send. Did you not see it either? You can put into YouTube. Donald Trump pushes people aside NATO meeting, and you'll see literally there's a whole bunch of people, and Donald Trump goes whoops and pushes someone aside.
I'm POTUS as well, yeah.
POTUS, that's right.
I saw somebody put different text into it.
Okay, I don't want to know. I don't even want to know. Usually the text is not exactly friendly towards a share. Let's put it that way. No. It's not a share friendly text. But now we're talking about COVID. Okay. I mean, I once said to someone, I really don't understand. When David Cameron walked away, why would anybody have wanted to walk into that poison chalice?
At that stage,
pardon?
At that stage, nobody knew how complicated it was going to be.
You think?
Yeah.
I think David Cameron walked because he knew exactly how complicated it was. I mean, how much he's brilliant. Now looking back, he was probably the best move he ever made. Brought the country into an absolute disarray, and then walked away. Goes, I'm leaving now. Find somebody else to fix this mess. Yeah? But it's a mess. I said to somebody, why would Theresa May want to stay in power? It's probably making her ill. If I was Prime Minister, I'd be ill from the whole story. The stress must be enormous. To lose a parliament vote after 2 years of investing with Europe, to lose a parliament vote by 230 MPs.
But every night when she goes to bed, she can't say, "Oh, thank God we've got that's out of the way now."
Yeah.
So,
No.
As far as the whole
and in the history books, she might go down as the woman who botched Brexit.
Which all she does the following days is more of the same.
It's more of the same, and people are on her terribly and constantly. I don't know why anybody would sign up for this. So I said that to someone, and you know what he said to me? COVID. On her. There's a tremendous. She is the Prime Minister of one of the most important countries in the world. Yeah? She gets a lot of headlines. She gets a lot of front page articles. She gets a lot of coverage. Yeah. Living on number 10 Downing Street. How many people can say that they've lived in number 10 Downing Street? Yeah? They always, they tell the joke. Somebody got Jeremy Corbyn's number and they called up Jeremy Corbyn and says, "Excuse me, can I speak to Prime Minister Corbyn, please?" He goes, so the house, whoever was at the house, he goes, "He's not available now and he's not Prime Minister." And they call again 10 minutes later. He goes, "Excuse me, can I speak to Prime Minister Corbyn, please? We said he's not available and he's not Prime Minister." He calls a third time, 20 minutes later. "Can I speak to Prime Minister Corbyn, please?" He goes, "He's not available. And for the last time, why do you keep on telling me he's Prime Minister? I told you already he's not Prime Minister." He goes, "I know, I can't hear that often enough."
That's your best one.
Pardon? That's the best one I've said so far. Thank you. Are you going to write that down? Where are you going? He's going with a pen.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
More serious.
More seriously. Yeah.
When they said that Yisro is here with your wife and her 2 children.
Yes. His children
as well.
Good question. So we might come back to that. It's a very good question. So, but I want to get back to the idea of COVID. So what's this whole story? Yisro says, "I'm here, come on out and greet me. And if you don't come out and greet me because of your wife. And you're really not willing to greet me because of me or because of my wife, come out and greet me because your kids are here or her kids are here." What's he saying? Right? So is he just running after COVID? Is that what he wants? All he wants to say is, I need the honor of being able to say Moshe Rabbeinu came to greet me. So Gur Ayis is a beautiful thing. And I think it's I really think it's an important idea to understand. He says the following. I'll translate it, roughly translate. This is not a question because this is not so much running after honor, rather it is getting rid of embarrassment and shame. Because any person, even a tzaddik, even a righteous person, and even a chassid, makmid al bizyono, he's very particular about people shaming them. Okay? There's no such person. Was that Shakespeare? Does my skin not bleed when you prick it or something like that? Yeah, I'm not very good at quoting these things. Yeah? Is it? Yeah? We all... And one of the most untrue things that people say, adage that people say, sticks and stones can hurt my bones, yeah, but words will never hurt me. Have you ever heard that?
Yeah.
Is that true?
No.
No, it's very false. It's not just false, it's like very false. Yeah? Sticks and stones can break my bones, but words can never hurt me?
No, it's not true at all.
That's not true at all.
I know you hear people committing suicide over it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We received a letter from Ofsted, and one of the main questions is, because they send these letters to everybody who is in the school, because they're now checking on one of my kids' schools. One of the questions is, are your kids safe at school? Do you feel they're safe from bullying? Cyberbullying, homophobic bullying, etc., etc. That's one of the things. Because they're worried, because bullying, like you said, can lead to suicides. So words are definitely important, and everybody will suffer from it. And therefore he says, even a tzaddik and even a chassid, even a great, pious, righteous person doesn't want to be embarrassed. And therefore it's normal. The standard would be if somebody comes to your house, you go out and you greet them. And if he wouldn't go out and greet Yisro, it wasn't that Yisro was saying, I need the covet of being greeted. But if you don't come out and greet me, I feel like a dog. Right? I remember I had this discussion with my wife because I traveled quite a bit. And we know one or two elderly couples that also travel sometimes, and they're very into somebody meeting them at the airport. And I said to my wife, why does somebody have to meet them at the airport? Do you know what I mean? Everybody else takes a taxi. You just get a taxi. We won't, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You know where you're going. You know where the hotel is. You know where your children-in-law live or where your children live. Even though you're in a strange country, take a taxi, get moving. What's the big deal? Why are you making such a fuss?
It's nice, though. It's nice.
It's not only that it's nice, it's more important. Nice is one thing, but that's why I'm trying to show you over here. This is what the Gur Aryeh is saying, is that there's a certain minimum amount of respect, and everybody has a different level, that people expect. If this elderly couple gets into an airport and there is nobody there to greet them, it's like we've just walked in and everyone's like, all right, just hang up your coat, shut up and sit down. Yeah? That's what they feel like. They'd feel nobody cares about them. What am I, a dog? Show up at a strange airport? I'm not sure. Younger people might go, what's the big deal? I'll just take a taxi, etc., etc. But certain people, they want to be taken care of. They want to feel that somebody else takes care of them. And even when you give people hospitality, I know there are different people that give different kind of hospitality. Everybody likes to be nice to hospitality, but I know certain people that are famous. He's a great host. Have you ever heard that about people as a great host? They're doting all over you whenever you have something, whenever you do something. There are always people coming, seeing, do you need something? Do you want something? Can I get you a drink? Constantly. Why? They want you to feel comfortable. Now you might say, you know what, there's Coke over there. If I want Coke, I'll just take some. That's true. But if I want to make you feel nice in my home, I will offer you that. I will get up from my seat. I will pick up the bottle of Coke, come over to your seat and say, I see you're finished. Can I give you some more? How does that make you feel? Very good. And it's a very different story. And that's what he's saying here, that Yisro is not saying, I need this covet. Come out and make me a welcoming party with a marching band. No. But if you don't come out to see me, then I feel like some dog has just showed up. Sit down in the corner and keep quiet. Who needs you anyway? I'm busy now. I'm a leader of the Jewish people. And so therefore, it's very important to remember this. There's a few points over here to remember. Number one, to remember that there is a minimum cover that you have to give everybody. No matter how much you feel people don't really need it, people need it. And embarrassment is something that no matter who you are, you can suffer from. And no matter who you are, you could be shamed and you could feel terrible about it, etc., etc. You have to be careful. Can't say, oh, he doesn't care anyway, he's tough, or he's a rabbi, so he gets this all the time, or he's got a business and he's got thick skin. Yeah, I'm sure that you've heard all these kind of excuses. Yeah, some people don't care. but many, many people do. And you got to be careful when you treat people that you should treat them well, and you should treat them correctly and give them the honor they deserve. Not because they need this great honor, but if you don't give them the minimum, then you're just treating them like a dog, and they don't deserve to be treated like that. Okay? That's the first idea. I don't really want to go into that. Elliot, I'll discuss with you later that idea that you asked me about her two children. It's a very interesting question, but I think there are a few other things that I wanted to speak about tonight, and therefore I want to speak about this now. So here we go. We get to the giving of the Torah. There are a few things I want to speak about. I have to remember all of them. There's some very amazing things. Number one. So keep turning, turn the page. Let's see where we are. Let's keep turning the page. Here we go. Right, so we're starting on page 400. You have a look on 400 in the Art Scroll Chumashim. In the third month when the Jewish people came out of Egypt, they came to Midbar Sinai, etc. And then they camped against the mountain. And now look at verse 3. Moshe went up to God, whatever that means. God called down to Moshe Rabbeinu from the mountain, saying, so should you say to the house of Jacob, and also pass on to the children of Israel. So the question we need to ask ourselves, who is Beis Yaakov and who is Bnei Yisrael? Yeah? Who's the two different people? Is that like God being just poetic over here? Say to the Beis Yaakov, the household of Jacob, Bnei Yisrael, the children of Israel. What's the difference between the household of Jacob and the children of Israel? So Rashi tells us, Beis Yaakov is the ladies, and you should tell them softly. And V'saga Bnei Yisrael, to the men, you should tell them the heavy, the punishments, and all the very particular things. So Rabbi Yerucham, whom we mentioned many times here in this year already, says a beautiful idea, and I think it's a very important idea to mention. On the one hand, by the way, Beis Yaakov, that's where the idea of Beis Yaakov comes from. When you speak about a Beis Yaakov, what's that, a girls' school? So we have Beis Yaakov over here, it refers to the ladies. That's part of the reason why we say Beis Yaakov is a girls' school. Okay? So Rabbi Yerucham says the following idea. He says it doesn't mean you cannot tell the men the things that are soft, or you cannot tell the women the things that are difficult. We're just trying to discuss, the Torah has two parts to it almost. And this is what we have. On the one hand, you have a part that's nice, fluffy. I like to call it fluffy sometimes. Sweet. Everybody goes, when they hear that. I'll give you an example. Love your neighbor as yourself. Any person, any modern secularist, humanist, whoever you are, you hear love your neighbor as yourself. Inside you get a warm feeling. This is a beautiful idea. This is a beautiful concept. This is a mainstay of humanity. You hear this. You understand how people know and understand how to treat other people. How beautiful. How lovely. Somebody loses something, return it. Oh, so nice. Not everybody returns lost property. Don't steal. That was a novel concept in those days. Oh, that's very, very nice. A lot of these things make people feel very, very warm inside. You have that side of the Torah. But you have another side to the Torah also, which is not as user-friendly. So, I'll give you an example. You go into Aish, right next door. And in almost any Kiruv organization, you will find that there are certain things that make it to the top of the list of the things that they teach, and certain things seem to be on the bottom. Why? Because if you want to reach out to people, you tell them the nice things. You tell them Shabbos adds such value to your home. Imagine not using a mobile phone for an entire 24 hours, which kids say is an absolute nightmare. But you speak to adults and they're like, wow, 24 hours digitally free. There are people that go away and spend thousands of pounds on these resorts where they take away your mobile phones. Yeah, we got Shabbos. It's very simple. You don't have to spend the thousands of pounds. There was a guy who said he was on a diet. And it was right before Shavuos, and he said all these cheesecakes. His wife had made like 6 cheesecakes, and he was going mental. He's looking at all those cheesecakes, and he just can't hold himself in, but he knows he doesn't want to break his diet. And finally, he comes after Shavuos to his Weight Watchers weigh-in, and he says, I managed it through the entire Shavuot without having any cheesecake. And they said, really? Yeah, and there was cheesecake galore all around. You're a hero, you're a star. What is it that we taught you here at Weight Watchers that allowed you to be able to hold back in that way? He says, Weight Watchers, nothing to do with you guys. He says, well, what did you do? He says, I knew I was about to eat a piece of the cheesecake and I couldn't hold myself back. He says, what'd you do? He says, I opened up the fridge, I had a bite out of the schnitzel, that was the end. Yeah. He's a from guy. He says, once I knew I was fleishik, that's it. I'm not having any cheesecake. I'm fleishik. That's it. I took myself a small schnitzel, had a half a schnitzel. That was it. I'm fleshing. I can't. Anytime I wanted to have cheesecake, I made myself fleshing. That was it. I made it through Shavuos without eating cheesecake. Yeah, smart way of doing things. But that's the point. You have that ability to hold yourself back. Shabbos gives you the ability to hold yourself back for 24 hours and to say, I'm not a slave to my phone. If I want to, I can turn my phone off, put it in my closet, come back 24 hours later, and whatever happened in the world, and it's just irrelevant. It doesn't matter. But that's nice. That's a nice bit of Shabbos. Start telling people about carrying. They start going, well, can't carry anything? Well, okay, now we have an Erev. Oh, sounds nice. Okay, that's easy. What else? Can't cook on Shabbos. Can't cook? How am I supposed to make food? You have to get this weird contraption called a hot plate. It was interesting. When they made Shabbat UK, and when they made the Shabbos project, the strangest thing, the thing they found that bothered people the most about Shabbos were 2 things, I think. One was cut toilet paper, and I can't remember the other one. And I was like, cut toilet paper? Just buy tissues, for goodness sake. I mean, it's really simple. You don't have to say like, oh, what am I going to do now? I said, nothing. You just buy a pack of tissues before Shabbos, and you leave them in the toilet. That's it. But people hear the minutia, and they go, come on. Are you serious? Are you for real? Shabbos is about not cutting toilet paper? That's what your Shabbos is all about? Shabbos is about not cooking. It's about not separating the tomatoes from the cucumbers on your plate? Who wants to keep that? When you say, no, that's not what Shabbos is about. Those are side rules. Shabbos is about rest. And Shabbos is about recharging. And Shabbos is about not having a mobile phone. And spending time with your family and your friends and reconnecting. But that's the fuzzy Torah. But in Torah, there are 2 parts. There's a part of the Torah that is nice and fuzzy and that makes everybody feel good. But there's a part of the Torah that is serious. There's a part of the Torah where God says, I demand and I expect certain things of you. And you say, yeah, but these are hard. These don't make me feel nice inside. These are difficult things that sometimes I say to myself, I have no idea why in the world I'm doing this. Why am I tying leather straps and taking my blood pressure every single day? I don't want to do this. Why do I come to daven every single day for 40 minutes in the morning, another 15 in the afternoon, and 15 at night? It's boring and I don't want to do that. Guess what? Learn to deal with it. That's part of Judaism. But we don't push that because it's not palatable to people. It doesn't make people feel nice and warm inside. It makes people shrivel a little bit and feel uncomfortable. It goes, that's not what religion's all about. Religion's meant to make me feel nice and meant me to feel all fuzzy. But it's not. And that's what Rashi is telling us over here. That within the Torah you have 2 parts. You have the Beis Yaakov and the Bnei Yisrael. It's not talking only to men and to women. He's not saying, ladies, here's the nice soft concept. Men, the women have just as many halachas as the men do and many things. Women have to keep Shabbos exactly the way man does. No woman can say, it's a time-bound mitzvah, I can light a candle on Shabbos. No, you can't. I can touch muktzah. No, you can't. Same as any man. So why are we saying only the men, only the women? He's saying no, because it's giving 2 ideas within Judaism. Because we often relate to women, and you see women as warm, nurturing creatures. It was interesting that I went to a conference, and at this conference we had a session of rabbis and rebbitzins. And the rabbi who was leading the session says, I'd like to know what you feel your purpose in life is. And one woman after the next spoke about the word nurturing. Not one guy said the word nurture. It's a female instinctive thing to do. They're very good at nurturing. They're excellent at nurturing. That's part of the reason they take such a great role in parenting, and they're so important in the parenting of a child, is because they can nurture in a way that men really struggle with. And they give a softness to it. Later on, give honor to your father and your mother. And the Torah says, why the father before the mother? Because people will give more honor to the mother because she's the nice one often. And the father has to be the tough one. So it says, honor your father as well. And then the other way around, Ish imo ve'aviv tiro. Later on in Parasha's Kedoshim, you should be afraid of your mother and your father. Why the mother before the father? Because most people are afraid of the father much more than they're afraid of the mother. Because daddy is this big strong guy in the house, and mommy is the much nicer. But be afraid of your mother in the same way. You have to give her the same respect. If you give both of them the same respect, you have to give both of them the same honor and the same fear. But the female side is seen as the more warm, the warmer thing. As therefore the Torah says, Kosoma leves Yaakov, tell them about the nice things. But also the Sagid of Yisro, you want to really know what Torah is all about. Torah is not only about those things that make you feel nice. It is not only about those things that you read and you feel that this is something that all secularists and humanists will agree with us. Because the secularists and humanists also agree with a lot of the principles in Yiddishkeit. They just don't agree with all the extras as they see it. So don't steal. Oh, that's a great principle. Don't kill. That's a great principle. Be nice to friendly. Yeah. Have courts of justice. Oh, these are great principles of humanity that they've stolen off us. But then we say there's also a principle of Shabbos. Oh, that's ridiculous. Suddenly when it comes to keeping, when it comes to something that's demanding of you, or we say God wants something else of you also, no, we don't want to keep that. And we say Torah is made up of everything. You can't have one without the other. And if your Torah is only going to be about the Toma Lebeis Yaakov, you end up with a Torah that's only with the things that sounds nice or that feels nice or that makes everybody else feel good, you'll end up without a Torah. Because all the things that are difficult, you're going to strike. So, okay, you'll make a nice secular humanist. But you won't make a religious Jew. You won't make a Torah Jew. Because you strike out half the things, 3/4 of the things that are in this book. Because they don't sit well with you. Because they're demanding. Because God is not only giving us laws that are for our benefit. There are laws also that are going to be demanding on us. But sometimes we might not even feel the benefit. We have to learn where the benefit comes from. And it's only in its entirety that you really get Torah. And that's the introduction here. Next. The other idea that's brought out in these first few psukim, it's a famous idea. And I don't know how it's translated in the English, but let's read it. Go back to verse number 2. Vayisum Refidim, they traveled from Refidim. So you're on the right, you should be on the right page. Yeah, you're on the right page. Page 400. Verse 2. Vayisum Refidim, they traveled from Refidim, Vayavo midbar Sinai, they came to the desert of Sinai. Vayachanu bamidbar, and they encamped in the desert. Vayichan shom Yisro neged ahar. How does it translate that? Michael, could you read me the translation in the English, please? Either Michael. Verse 2.
Verse 2 says, they journeyed from Rephidim
Yes.
and arrived at the wilderness of Sinai
Okay.
and encamped in the wilderness. And Israel encamped there opposite the mountain.
See, there's the issue. When you have an English translation, you don't always get it right. Because Vayichan, what was the word before? Vayachanu. What does Vayachanu mean? They camped. With a vav at the end is in plural. Vayichan is a singular. So I say Vayichan Sham Yisrael neged ahar, that the Jewish people encamped there in singular. So Rashi gives you the famous one, the famous line, Ke'ish echad belev echad, like one person with one heart. That's what Vayichan Sham Yisrael means. One person with one heart. So again, Rabbi Yerucham points out, and he says, one of the prerequisites of accepting Torah is loving your fellow Jew. That's what they had to do. They all had to become one. We said even by the Haggadah, if God had brought us to Mount Sinai and not given us the Torah, dayenu. What does that mean? He brought us to Mount Sinai and not given us, what's the point of getting to Mount Sinai if we didn't get the Torah? Here, have a look. Oh, it's a mountain. Yeah, now we can go. You saw it? Great. There's like nothing to see anyway. What does that mean? So many of the commentators explain because there was a tremendous sense of unity when they got to the mountain, and that unity in and of itself would have been worth getting the Jews there, even if the Jews would have never gotten the Torah. Just that one unity. But unity is a prerequisite for Torah. It's very hard. We're a disjointed people. We're disjointed people. So many different sides, and every side always looks at the other side and points and blames. Those from people are no good. It's those people that don't keep the Torah that are no good. It's those people in the middle that are no good. Everybody's no good. But if you really want to have a connection to the Torah and accept the Torah, it's only through unity. And now comes the last idea that I wanted to share with you tonight. And I think this is a beautiful idea by Rav Hirsch. Let's see, can I find it behind you? Yeah, it is behind you. Behind you, if you have a look at it, could you pull out the Shemos? That one, perfect. Yeah. I read it in the Hebrew, and the Hebrew was very, very poetic. Rav Hirsch, in general, is he writes very poetically, beautifully. And he writes about what the word Anochi Hashem Elokecha is. I am Hashem, your God. That's the first one of the Aseret Sadiq, was the first one of the Ten Commandments. So we discussed last year if that is commandment or if that's just a saying, because Dibros really means saying also, so you don't have to say it's a commandment. But many or most of the Mefarshim learn that is a commandment to believe in God. Whatever that means, that's a separate discussion. I don't want to get into what it means that you have to believe in God, that can be commanded to believe in God. But here we get to Anochi Hashem Elokecha. Here we go. He writes that there's a difference between Ani and Anochi. There are two words that you can use to describe yourself. You can say Ani, I am. Yeah. Or Anochi, also I am. So what does that mean? What's the difference between Anochi and Ani? What are the differences? So Rav Hirsch points out that Ani denotes the personality of the speaker in opposition to the one addressed. And Anochi, on the other hand, reveals the speaker as a personality who is intimately close to the one he is addressing. You hear that? Ani has a certain distance. Anochi means to negate that distance and say, no, we're very close. Those are the two words that you have. Ani, Anochi. What does Hashem say? And this is so beautiful. Anochi Hashem Elokecha. Anochi meaning what? What do we just translate Anochi as? I am Hashem, who is close to you, who is your God, intimately your God. Asher Tzeticha me'eretz Mitzrayim mibeis avadim. Who took you out of the land of Egypt from being the house of slaves. Okay? So he says, let me read this, let me see if I can read this paragraph, and it makes sense as much in the English as it does in the Hebrew, because I thought it was beautiful. What the philosophers, ancient and modern, call the belief in the existence of God is as remote as can be from the meaning of this verse regarding the foundations of Jewish thought and Jewish life. The fundamental truth of Jewish life is not believe in God's existence. Hear that? That's a very strange thing to say. Let me read that again. The fundamental truth of Jewish life is not belief in God's existence, nor that God is one and only one. You may say, well, what's the fundamental belief for Judaism? It is rather that the one and only God, the God of truth, is my God. Listen to that. He created and formed me, gave me my standing, informed me of my duty, and he continues to create me and to form me, to keep me, to guide me, and to lead me. My belief is not that my connection to him is through an endless chain of events, as a chance product of a universe of which he was the first cause eons ago. Rather, my belief is that every breath that I take and every moment of my existence is a direct gift of his power and love, and that my duty is to devote every moment of my life to his service alone. How about that? In other words, the essential thing is not the knowledge of God's existence, but the awareness and the acknowledgement that he is my God, that my fate is in his hands alone, and that he alone establishes the work of my hands. Corresponding to the command, Anochi Hashem Elokecha, there's but one response, Ata Elokai. I read this, I was very much enthralled with this. Do you see what he's saying? It's a beautiful idea. Such a deep idea in Jewish thought to understand.
You get this with a child and a parent, wouldn't you?
Pardon?
You get this between a child and a parent.
Go on, what do you mean?
No, so the child will totally trust the parent.
Yes.
Whatever they say, they'll follow.
Up to a certain point, yes.
Yeah, so it's the same sort of direction, isn't it, really?
Yes and no, that's not really what he's saying. I'm not sure that's what he's saying. I understood it differently. What I understood is what he's saying is the following. There are two things. You can have belief in God. And we can discuss scientifically whether or not there's proof for God. And we can discuss philosophically whether or not there's belief in God. Or you can believe, and is it true? And can you prove absolutes? And can you not prove absolutes? And is there something that's absolutely true? We can go back and forth. But you know what? All that discussion and all that round and round is what? Really? It's all talk. Talk and talk and talk and talk and talk.
It's belief in the nature of what he is and how much he does for you.
And then my obligation to therefore serve him because he does so much for me. Hashem is my God. When we speak about God, God's this lofty concept. It's very hard for us almost to get an understanding. How do we understand God? We can't. How does our feeble little mind say, oh, I get it. I understand God? Really?
Explain it, but yeah.
No. It's interesting. I was listening just this week. I turned on the radio. I missed the first half of it. But they had some kind of scientific guy speaking on Radio 5 as I was coming to shul. And he was talking about all the wondrous things that water does and how it freezes and it floats as opposed to anything else. Anything else that freezes, anything else that where you take the molecules and you harden them, what would happen?
Denser and sinks.
Denser and sinks. Except for?
Water.
Why is that?
Just because of the way it is.
Great. But does science know why it's like that? They might be able to explain, scientifically, but it goes against all other rules of nature. But you know why that is? Because if it wasn't that way, all the fish would die every single time in the winter. But here, this way, the ice floats to the top. You have ice at the top, and the whatever's underneath can continue living. Right? Beautiful thing, beautiful idea that we can have that. That's amazing.
But it's just an accident.
But it's just an accident.
Oh yeah.
All these things are just accidents. And the interesting thing is, so on the radio they say, you know what? We can't, and this is an amazing thing when scientists say, we don't understand why it's like that. We can't even explain it. But guess what? If it wasn't like that, we wouldn't be alive. Oh, okay. But that's just a great coincidence. Next. Yeah? To which we say no.
That's the reason why it's like. So
that's the reason like that, because God
we
wanted
can be
God.
alive, yeah.
Correct, because God wanted a world. He wanted us in this world. He wanted to be able for this world to function. So how does he get the world to function? Only by making the laws of nature work so that we don't die. Because otherwise we die in the winter. So we don't die. Amazing things. When you talk about God, God's this lofty concept. And you can get in philosophy and you can sit around and you can discuss. He does exist, he doesn't exist. He has a part. How come he doesn't have a part? How do I understand infinity? Is there a bigger infinity and a small infinity? Is he all the infinity? But is it just recurring forever but not real infinity? That's numbers. It's not like all that. I'm sure some of you might have heard some of these terms before. All that is lovely philosophy. And it's important. It's also important. But if Judaism remains as a study of lofty philosophy, instead of Judaism becoming a study of Anochi Hashem Elokecha, I, God, the one who is close to you, Anochi, not Ani, Hashem Elokecha, am your God. As he says, he created and formed me, gave me my standing, informed me of my duty, continues to create me and to form me, to keep me, to guide me, and to leave me. My belief is not that there is a God. Lovely, I've been to Philosophy 101 and I've learned about God. God is my God. It's a very different belief. It's very different when you say, Anochi Hashem Elokecha. God is connected to me. I believe God is my God. I believe that God keeps everything going. And that's the only reason I'm alive. And that's the only reason I'm around here to tell this story. And that's the only reason we have this share. And that's the only reason I have anything. And he keeps and gives and gives and gives and gives and gives all day long and all night long to me. And what does he want from me? In return, a few bits and pieces. No big deal. And then he'll reward me for all the bits and pieces that I do. Anochi Hashem Elokecha. The core belief of Judaism is not in the existence of God, but in the connection between God and man and mankind, and in what God does for mankind and what mankind needs to do for God. Not needs, I'm sorry, that's the wrong word. What we can do for God, what we have the privilege to do for God. That's our core belief. That is something that we look into. That's something we look up to. That is Judaism. Okay? Thank you very much for joining us. Anybody who watched this, if you can please share this on with other people so that more people can enjoy this. Thank you very much for joining us. Please join us again next week, same time, same place.